I actually was involved in Grassroots before it was Grassroots. I worked with David Cowling at the Methodist Church Overseas Division when he first had this vision of bringing people from overseas to share their voices with churches in this country and the hope of regenerating churches.
He came in with a sort of fresh perspective on what it was to be the church in the UK, and I think it's that was transformative. And just his personal warmth and his vision and capacity to energise the people around him was really quite important in making the whole thing work in the early days.
I was at a meeting very early on when David Cowling came to our church, and he brought with him a Brazilian partner who had come to work in Luton alongside him and Grassroots. And we were really interested about how the perception of mission had changed and missionary work had changed over the years. And David shared this vision, and this vision has continued and has grown and developed, and now it's not what we can receive but also what we can give. David's vision will continue and is continuing in the work of Grassroots.
I was the first partner in mission for the Grassroots program. The idea of the project was to understand that mission is what we do wherever we are as Christians, as part of the mission that is not ours, but is God's mission of bringing to the world peace, peace with justice, life in its fullness, and the possibility for us to work together.
And working then with churches, exploring ways in which the mission of the church could be more engaging with people in their context, how the church could serve community better. That's how, at the beginning, Grassroots operated.
I first met David in Brussels, 98, 99, to work together on the European Kairos process with a network of faith-based organizations with roots in the anti-apartheid movement. Our common mission was to resist the building of a fortress Europe and to work towards a new Europe for justice.
Well, David was a liberationist, really, in the true sense of the word. He saw in the story of Jesus the liberation of human beings.
I was invited to engage in interfaith work. However, having said that, the interfaith work itself has been led into various thematic directions, so that what we are saying is that engaging with people from different faiths is not just about learning from one another about one another's faith, but also trying to explore opportunities of how do we put that faith into action. And hence, I have been personally involved in creating and getting people involved and involving myself in the range of projects which leads from fair trade to environmental concerns, to sports like archery and football and cricket, and various other women and youth-oriented activities.
And at present I'm engaged in working with women across different faiths and cultures, which is really, the core of that is working with the GRASSROOTS women's group, which is a combination of Christian and Hindu and Muslim women. I worked in the community cafe at Marsh Farm to start with, Rags and Roses, and that really did have a profound effect on me. I learnt all sorts of things about the goodness of people.
One of the projects of Grassroots is a church-related community work project, and I am the church-related community worker. That's my reason for being in Luton. I work with the Berry Park Beach Hill Council of Churches, and Grassroots holds my post. Grassroots is always providing touching places where lives can intersect and people can start to bring down barriers and build bridges between each other.
Well, I work in a program that is called the Spirituality of Justice. I try to enable people who are working for justice to have a way of expressing their faith and taking time out to pray. And then for people who are praying to put their prayer into justice issues. This program has evolved into making Luton a fair trade town.
And I think it was a tremendous achievement to get that honour and recognition in making Luton a fair trade town. Very impressive indeed.
The achievements of the work of the Luton Fair Trade Town Group as facilitated by Grassroots have included winning an Outstanding Achievement Award from the Fair Trade Foundation at their national conference, running workshops on going deeper into fair trade in your local community and engaging with other faiths, again at the national conference. A member of the Luton Fair Trade Town Group was invited by the Fair Trade Foundation to deliver a petition requiring trade justice at number 10 Downing Street. And finally, I've been asked as a member of that group to speak at the International Fair Future Conference on why fair trade still matters to campaigners and in communities.
I first got involved in Grassroots through the Catalyst Leadership course, which was a very rewarding experience for me. I then went on to join our local archery club and I made great friends, and since then I have been involved in many of the events in Grassroots and I haven't looked back since. The reason why I got involved in Grassroots is because I believe strongly that as young people we have to do as much as we can to contribute to society, as we will be the leaders for the generations to come.
I think it's really important for groups like this to come together and let young people like us come and talk with them and speak about their problems, because we are the new generation and we're going to grow older and we're going to be spreading our knowledge to the younger versions of us, and we're going to make it a better place for everyone.
I think it's really important because if you don't give younger people the chance to express how they feel and get their point out and across, that's always just going to be kept inside them. And then when maybe they finally do decide to let it out, it will come out in the wrong way and they'll get judged for it.
I wanted to have better social skills, and at first when I joined it was a bit weird because I didn't really know what to say, but then after a while I got a bit more comfortable.
I have always said that partnership is key to our work. I think every piece of work that Grassroots has engaged in, it has first created an appetite, identifying the need, of course. So the appetite was already there, but to convert that appetite into a form of a structure so that Grassroots can then seek to work in partnership with that structure made up of local people. And I think that is very much lived out through various projects and activities that Grassroots has undertaken over the number of years.
And I think they were looking around to develop an interfaith initiative around the town, and so that's how the development took place initially in 1996-97. And you know, we've never looked back, and I think the partnership, if you like, has been very tangible. It's been constructive, and it's an ongoing partnership, in fact. We are now two independent, if you like, organizations and projects, as it were, in our own right. But I think there is a lot of convergence in terms of the interfaith work, and the principle, the original principle actually is very much alive.
Actually, Grassroots is essentially there. It just helps, it facilitates it. It helps other people get involved. But Luton Council of Faith wouldn't be what it is, and wouldn't be able to do the things it's done without Grassroots facilitating it, enabling it. that's what grassroots is. It just gets on and serves.
The grassroots and the GP ministries have become beneficial partners, good partners to each other. We have, in the last almost 10 years now, been able to impact the community greatly.
Well, the good thing with grassroots activities is that they're very varied and they promote other good work that happens in town. So it's not activities specifically to do with faith.
We started with a small grants program in Luton, which started in 2012, and we were working with Grassroots to make that known in the area. Then in 2014, we started a formal partnership, and that partnership has enabled Near Neighbours to engage in a lot of work in Luton through its partnership with Grassroots and all the contacts and all the organisations that Grassroots works with.
Now, over the last 4 years, I have been running the Near Neighbours programme in Luton, and I sit under the Grassroots umbrella. I've been lucky to be a part of the Grassroots team, which is hugely diverse. Also with Grassroots, I was running Global Exchange programme, which was run by VSO, Voluntary Service Overseas, and British Council, and I was parachuted into Luton in 2004, running the first Global Exchange with Indonesia and Luton. I consequently ran many Global Exchanges after that. Grassroots was a working placement for these young people that came, young people from the UK and young people from overseas. They came together and they worked here in Grassroots.
During that time, I learned so much about the community there and about the wonderful people who are doing so much to bring different communities together, different faiths together, and really encourage an environment of understanding and tolerance and true kind of acceptance of everyone and everyone's beliefs. So I've really admired all the work they did, and they were such community leaders, everyone that I had met who were involved with Grassroots.
For a couple of years now, we have had the pleasure of knowing you and learning from your important work. And right now, very hands-on, working together on a job shadow program funded by the European Union, Erasmus+, exchanging issues about faith, society and social cohesion.
I think that Grassroots has been able to work in constructive and creative ways with partners of a variety of faith traditions. Our premise, our motivation is this love that God has demonstrated through Jesus Christ, and that love is for all, not for some and not for a few, and we are here to work in partnership with other faith traditions.
We started with a few projects and then we just built up on those projects, work with the community, mosque open days of working with the churches, help to clean a park and then paint it and get new rides in there for the community. Homeless people we've helped, and also the school children. So these are the sort of things that are Grassroots, helping people and changing the communities in Luton.
The ethos of Grassroots is one that continues to inspire people locally. I think it continues to make a difference year on year through various projects that it implements. For me, what is most impressive about Grassroots is a very inclusive communitarian spirit that drives its work. And as a result, gives everybody a sense of stakeholding in the type of way in which they plug into its projects.
The impact on Luton by Grassroots has been significant over the last 25 years. I mean, I've worked with them on the fair trade projects, and also some of the stuff they've done with us around cohesion and our whole agenda around building stability and safety within our communities, and Grassroots have been central to most of that work.
The impact of Grassroots being involved with Bedfordshire Police has been phenomenal. They're a fantastic organisation, a real diverse mix of people who really bring communities together.
one of the big advantages of Grassroots is that it's prepared to be flexible. It's not got a rigid agenda that it's trying to forward all the time, but open to just really trying to react to the things that are going on.
It gives people space to express themselves, their culture, their faith, without feeling any inferior or superior about it, expressing it alongside other people, their beliefs, their cultures, their faith, and then trying to negotiate, not necessarily negotiating away our differences, but negotiate a kind of a common consensus on which we can agree to come together and work together and address a common concern that impact our lives locally and sometimes nationally and sometimes internationally.
One of the real strengths of Grassroots is the accumulated immersion, particularly in Luton, but also wider afield, which the churches can draw on as a resource. Thinking about this, the trust that people have in the work of Grassroots is so important and is a great witness.
Since I first came to the Luton area almost 13 years ago, the impact of Grassroots has been very challenging for me, because it's a challenging business reaching out to other faiths and beyond other faiths, to the peripheries of our society. We're all very much happier just being comfortable in our own situations. And of course, Grassroots is there to take us beyond our comfort zones. I think that Grassroots has been accompanying the work of the church, in fact going ahead of the church in its work, because I think we're a little bit slow to respond to the challenge, to reach out and to dialogue. And so Grassroots is very much at the forefront of the mission of the church in what it does. It's become even more important with Pope Francis, who's encouraging us all the time to reach beyond ourselves and to make contact with other faiths and to enter into a friendly dialogue with other faiths and not to be afraid to reach out. And so Grassroots is really fulfilling very much the vision of Pope Francis, which must be our vision too.
In today's world, a secular world very largely, the place of faith is sometimes squeezed out of the public square. The work of Grassroots from a Christian faith perspective is a work that takes world religions seriously, that encourages a dialogue of equal partners, that works to promote mutual understanding between the religions. And because it is faith-based, it understands the perspectives, the needs and the hopes and the fears of other faith communities in Britain. And so Grassroots is so well placed to lead the way in community development and justice and peace in Luton and this wider area.
Well, the Christian churches all are aware of John 17, that we are united. What Grassroots is doing is actually living it out. The relationship with all other denominations is not just important, but it is essential. It's a part of our being.
The best example I can give is when we had the 7/11 bombings, and Grassroots together with Luton Council of Faith were at the heart of trying to bring the community together. We had an amazing meeting in Luton Central Mosque, helping us all to understand what's been going on and to recognise that we're all brothers and sisters, no matter what denomination, creed or colour we are.
They're not a church, Grassroots, they're not a denomination, so clearly they don't have necessarily the same challenges within the theological sense. And long may that continue, because they've tried to build bridges across the churches, they've tried to build bridges across faiths.
I think Grassroots offers a space not just for those who are engaged in terms of full-time employment, but also for those who are volunteers or involved in any other capacities such as trustees or members of the support group or advisory groups of various projects. It meets the needs in terms of offering people a space to express themselves.
The impact of my contact with Grassroots at a personal level has been amazing, really, because when I came, I already had what I would call an inclusive attitude, but Grassroots has provided me with a practical and realistic way of putting that ethical approach into action.
That volunteers are a very, very important element of the organization. And without volunteers, the whole delivery of the programs of the organization cannot be possible. So credit to Grassroots of developing the volunteering for the groups of people who are like-minded, who have interest in certain areas of work, to come along and give their time to the organization, to the community as well, through the Grassroots.
I started volunteering for Grassroots because it's a rewarding job. You get to know your community, and throughout that, it gives you a chance to give back to the people. Grassroots has made me feel very welcoming. I made so many new friends, and just to be part of a great team who brings community, culture, people together. I'm so thankful to be a part of a team like this.
I think that one of the things that Grassroots has done so well, which has enabled it to be as successful as it has been for 25 years, is remain open and embracing of people with different views, different beliefs, from different cultural and faith backgrounds. Grassroots gave me that fertile ground and opportunity to learn about others' backgrounds and beliefs, and how we can come together and share and work towards one common goal.
I think diversity is also a core aspect, an integral part of Grassroots life. People from different backgrounds have different perspectives, and we have always sought not to undermine any aspect of any perspective, whether it is from different people of different faiths or people of no faith.
Well, a quarter of a century is no small feat, and undoubtedly this is an occasion for celebrating the achievements and the life lessons that we've all acquired from this life-changing experience. One important life lesson from working with Grassroots was that the magnitude of the darkness should never deter one from lighting one's candle, and that it was always better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. Hope, like faith, cannot be bequeathed. It should emanate from within. Let's keep hope alive.